Hey everybody, Craig Tomanini here, the founder and CEO of ASKCRAIGTEE and also the host for the ASKCRAIGTEE podcast show. It's Friday, it's 9 o'clock. We're glad that you're here. We are done with our 4-part series on digital marketing, and if you have not seen that, we'll throw a card up here somewhere on the screen so you can go back and watch those 4 videos, including our special guest, Madeline Costa, which was amazing. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, just trying to keep it fresh. We're going to talk about something that, a lot of times people, when we communicate with each other, we do it in kind of a code, right? If you're a younger person than I am, like a millennial type person, and you're using, your device and you're messaging with people, a lot of times we use what we would call 3-letter acronyms or TLAs. Ironically, 3-letter acronyms is a TLA. So, we do it with things like BTW, by the way, or OMG, right? Today I want to kind of fold that into just kind of a fun episode. And I pulled out, with the help of our team here, a list of some really cool TLAs, some 3-letter acronyms, and some TLAs, 2-letter acronyms, and even some 3-letter acronyms that are actually 4-letter acronyms. And we'll get into that, and it's kind of confusing. But I wanted to do this because I think sometimes when we get into terminology, especially around tech, it gets really confusing, right? People talk to you and they're like, "We're gonna put the GUI on the thing, and we're gonna put the stuff on the VPN," and it's just really confusing sometimes, And I think having those terms defined for us might just be helpful. So we're just gonna kind of list through them today. I've picked out a few of my favorites from this list, and we're gonna throw them up on the screen with a little definition, and then we're gonna move right through this. So, gonna get started, but before we do that, just want to remind everybody, if you're not already following the AskCraigTEE Facebook page or our YouTube page for AskCraigTEE Inc., please go do that. Follow us, like us, subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell so you get notifications when our new videos come out. And we really appreciate your support. So please make sure you do that. And if you've already done that, let's try something new. Why don't you tell a friend? Tell a friend about our YouTube channel. Tell a friend about the podcast that you're watching, because we really are trying to grow the base so that we get as much of this really great, valuable information out there as possible. So, in no particular order, I'm going to start with the 2-letter acronyms, because I think that it's interesting that we have 2-letter acronyms, but if you actually wrote out the word 2, it would be a T-L-A. And so it's kind of confusing, right? First one, artificial intelligence. Why wouldn't we start there, right? Because everybody's talking about AI, artificial intelligence, the simulation of human behavior. That's the definition. So that's our first 2-letter TLA. Machine learning goes along with AI, right? The ability to program a machine using something like artificial intelligence, something that doesn't require the interaction of a human to code and teach a machine how to do something. Augmented reality. If you ever put on the glasses, like virtual reality, which is also a 2-letter acronym. Virtual reality, augmented reality, kind of the same thing but different. Virtual reality, you put on the big goggles and you can kind of like play a video game, is the best way I can describe it, and you're in this world as long as you have those glasses on. Augmented reality is where we can actually change like the environment around us through the lens and make it look like you're in a place maybe that you're not. It's augmented, it's changed. Both of those are 2-letter acronyms. Some 4-letter acronyms that we're going to move into, because we're going to jump over the 3 for a second. HTML, hypertext markup language. So it's hypertext markup language. HTML, you've probably heard that term a lot. It is one of the original programming languages in which the internet, the World Wide Web, was programmed on. And many web pages still use HTML today. HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This is what allows, from a programmatic standpoint, when you do code, it's what allows something to be turned into a clickable link, right? I think of it like when I click on things, I think of it like Star Trek. I clicked on it and I'm into another spot. Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTPS, so we actually have a 5-letter acronym. Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. So this is really important, right? So there are websites out there that have HTTP. That is the protocol that allows linking and for your website to be able to be present on the internet. But there's also this idea, and it's really important now from a secure standpoint, how do you establish security? So if you're on an e-commerce site and you're buying something, you want to make sure if you're going to put your credit card information in, that information is secure. And that security is established by creating what's called a certificate of security. It's something that the web server where the website you're on lives, it has a document that basically says it's gone through whatever it needs to go through in terms to secure the website, to make sure that your information is safe. So HTTP and HTTPS. So those are some 4-letter acronyms. Here's a couple that aren't tech related. These are 3-letter acronyms. You've probably heard this in a couple of forms, but CEO, these are business related 3-letter acronyms. So CEO, Chief Executive Officer. I've also heard Chief Encouragement Officer. And there are other variations of that. Chief Entertainment Officer. I don't know what that job is all about, but maybe I want that. CFO, Chief Financial Officer. We have a CFO here because I don't like to deal with the books and the balance sheets and all those things. And that's what a CFO does, a Chief Financial Officer. A CTO. If I were not the CEO of this company, I would probably be the CTO, which is the Chief Technology Officer, someone who's responsible for overseeing all of the tech. And then our lovely COO here, I will not say her name on camera, but we have a great Chief Operating Officer here, someone who's responsible for making sure all of the day-to-day things are happening from an operational standpoint. So those are some cool TLAs. Another one of my favorites, getting back into the tech, CRM, Customer Relationship Management. If you've not seen the episode we did on CRMs, we'll throw a card up for that too. And talks more about what a CRM does for your business. And then next, we're gonna do some more 3-letter acronyms. These are probably more around a conversation you would have in marketing. So you hear things like SEO, right? We just did a series on digital marketing, search engine optimization, search engine marketing, right? Paid advertising, SEM. And then you also have things like CTR, probably a new one for some of you. Click-through rate or click-through ratio. This is the percentage of users who click on a specific link out of a total number of users who viewed a page or an email or an advertisement. So think of an ad on Facebook that pops up, somebody paid to put that up or it came up organically. The CTR is a percentage of people that actually clicked on it when they saw it, right? So maybe someone saw it 1,000 times, but clicked on it 10 times. That's a percentage, right? And that's your CTR. Another one is pay per click, PPC. It's an internet advertising model in which advertisers pay a fee each time the link gets clicked. So same example, when you're doing a Facebook ad or a Google ad or something like that, every time someone actually does click on that link, your click-through rate, there is a cost per click, a pay per click, if you will. And then the next one is actually cost per click, CPC. It's the amount that an advertiser pays for each click. So here's an example. We'll see if we can put up a formula on the right-hand side. Let's say that you have an ad that gets seen 100 times, and then 10 people click on that ad, right? So that is a 10% click-through rate. And for those clicks, for those 10 clicks, an advertiser spends, let's say 4 cents per click, if only, right? 4 cents per click. So that advertiser would spend 40 cents for 10 people to see the ad to the 100 people that actually, or to click on the ad for the 100 people that actually saw the ad. So that's an example of how those things are kind of tied together. Now, in the marketing world, there's a term, we covered this in our digital marketing series, called cost per mille. And it simply means 1,000. Mille is 1,000. So how much do advertisers pay for 1,000 impressions for the ad that they're running? So cost per mille, it's CPM. It's also a TLA, a 3-letter acronym. And then moving into kind of our final chunk, and this is kind of old school. We're gonna bring it back. We're gonna do something old school here, and I mean old school like back in the late '80s, early '90s, when we were talking more about the computer than we were about the software, right? And so computers, the hardware side of things, software is like what everybody's used to now, the programs or the applications or the apps that you're running. And you've probably heard these, but not really given them a lot of thought. The first one is CPU, Central Processing Unit. This is the primary part of the computer that does all of the instructions, it does all of the commands, it handles all of the tasks. And what's interesting, if you think about the CPU and you go forward to where we're at with things like AI and machine learning, It would really be like taking AI and telling those old central processing units how to do the things that they need to do, right? It's that automated command part now that we're used to. RAM, random access memory. And I always love this terminology. It's a type of computer memory that allows data to be accessed randomly rather than sequentially. And we're not going to get into that. Maybe we'll do another episode on how RAM works and how computing works and processing. But everything's very binary, ones and zeros, right? And so it allows the temporary storage of things on your computer. So if you're doing a function or a task on the computer, and the computer needs to store information but not permanently, in a way that you can pull it back randomly when you need it, that would be RAM. That's how RAM works. So that's a TLA, RAM, RAM. It's not the bull, RAM, horns. I'm sure I'm going to get horns on my head now. GPU, graphics processing unit, a specialized electronic circuit designed to accelerate the creation and rendering of images, videos, and animations. We call this a graphics card now too. So it can be a TLA, 2-letter acronym, or a TLA, 3-letter acronym. Same thing, graphic processing unit or a graphics card. It's what allows the computer to understand the binary and imaging and the XY coordinates of an image so that it can be rendered on a screen so you can see it from a visual standpoint. A couple more. LAN, local area network. It's a network that connects computers and devices in a limited geographical area. So like if we had a LAN for AskCRAIGTee, it could be, the computers that we have here in this office, and it could also be some computers at, like, say, a secondary office location that's not really far away. Maybe it's, on the other end of the city. But then you have what's called a WAN, a wide area network, that spans a larger geographical area, connects multiple LANs together, and creates like a bigger network together. So we could take those smaller LAN networks and we could tie them together and have a wider network. So a WAN, W-A-N. And to wrap it up, we're going to close out with a 2-letter acronym, a TLA also. And you've probably heard this term. I'd be surprised if most of you haven't, but it's called operating system. Back when I first came on the tech scene, so little story time, enter into the story where Craig is not technically savvy and working in a different career path. I was in law enforcement and then into a manufacturing environment. And I really didn't like that manufacturing job, and there was an opportunity for me to bid out on another job, but I had to have this technology skill. It was bleeding edge at the time. You may have heard of it. It was Windows 3.1. And I had to take a class and get certified, and that 3.1 reference in terms of Microsoft Windows is an operating system. And so Microsoft, at the time, that was one of the first computing systems that allowed people to not just have like a command line, ones and zeros, text on a screen. It actually had a visual representation. Another TLA I'll throw in, a GUI, a graphical user interface. It took all of the computing from the back end and made it visually appealing and able to be navigated on the screen using your mouse, which was all new things at that time. The peripherals, having a mouse, having a keyboard that were wired to your computer, right, to your central processing unit. It was all tied together. And so these operating systems over time have evolved, right? So we went from Windows 3.1 to Windows 95 to Windows 98 to, so on and so forth, right? And so here we are now in a place where operating systems are still a very critical part of computing, even on the good old Macintosh, right? Or on a Windows computer or something else like a Surface, right? There's something that runs all of those programs and applications, and that is your operating system. So if you're on a Macintosh or an Apple product, it's your iOS, right? It's OS, it's iOS. So that's actually a TLA. Interesting. So you have to have those operating systems. Those are some of our fun TLAs that we wanted to bring you out to today. One last one that I want to talk about because I think that this is really overlooked. A lot of people, when you go to the internet and you put in a website address up in the top of your browser in that space that's there, what that's actually called is a URL. It's a Uniform Resource Locator. So our URL is like this. You have an address on the internet. So you have your IP address, a series of numbers like 168.10.4.20. That is what tells the World Wide Web where your website is located. It's on some computer on the network, right? A wide area network. That wide area network has a connection to your server where your web page is stored, your HTML pages potentially. And then that call is made and brought back to your screen through your computer operating system using your central processing unit to bring back your graphical user interface to see what your website looks like. So if you go to AskCraigTee.com, it knows how to call that IP address, get the pages for my website, bring them back to your computer or your device, and display them so that they look awesome. So that's kind of a quick rundown of how all these things kind of tie together. Obviously, we didn't go super deep on it, but hopefully these TLAs, right, these 3-letter acronyms, these 2-letter acronyms are 4-letter acronyms, right? We even had a 5-letter acronym in there. Do you remember what it was? It was HTTPS for secure. Hopefully all of these terms help give you just some understanding of how the conversations are had when people are talking to you about technology or you're talking to people about technology. Keep in mind that not everybody knows what these terms are. And that was the point of this episode. We wanted to give you some terminology and some definition and kind of stitch it all together so you can see how it works. So hopefully this was valuable to you. That's what we have for you today. Just another reminder, if you're not already focused on what we're doing here, the best way to get a hold of us is through our website. Go to www.AskCraigTee.com. We'll throw it up on the screen somewhere. Check out our website. Send us a message. Ask us questions. We want to answer your questions on the show too. Send in those questions so that we can make this more interactive. We want to add value to your business. We want to continue to follow our mission, which is to educate, equip, and empower our business owners through the transference of knowledge. We want to help you scale your business that way. And so that's what we have for you today. I'm Craig Tominini. I'm the host of the Ask Craig T podcast show and the founder and CEO of Ask Craig T. And I hope you have a great day. We'll see you here again next Friday, 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.